What's up guys, Jeff from Sorta Healthy here. Today we'll be breaking down some underrated exercises that you should be taking full advantage of in sessions with your personal training clients. Some of my exercise choices are a little bit obvious, but I also think that some of my picks will be surprising to you guys as well. So let's start breaking down those underrated exercises that you might not be utilizing, but should be. Before we start that, all I ask is that you consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Both of those two things really do help the channel to grow, and that allows me to keep making free content for all of you. Thank you so much for that continued support, everyone. It really does help us out. Before I share some of my underrated exercise picks, what exercise do you think is the most underrated? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. My first underrated exercise in this video is probably one of my less surprising picks. And that first exercise is none other than the dead bug. Initially, I thought the dead bug was just another goofy core exercise, and to some extent it is. But there are one or two things that stand out about this exercise that make it particularly worthwhile. The first thing that I like about dead bug variations are that they are great when it comes to helping clients engage their transverse abdominis. The transverse abdominis is deeper than the rectus abdominis, aka the six-pack muscle. Strengthening the transverse abdominis is helpful for preventing back injuries since its main job is to stabilize the spine. The dead bug is also useful for helping to reduce excessive anterior pelvic tilt. Anterior pelvic tilt being when your pelvis literally tilts too far forward like this. By telling your client to squeeze their abs tight, pull their belly button in towards their spine, and to keep their back flat to the ground as they're completing this movement, you're helping to pull their pelvis back to a more neutral position. Doing this often can really help to take some pressure off of their low back, and it can help to restore some balance to this region of the body. My next underrated exercise is the step up. I feel like the step up deserves a place on this list because even though it's not obscure by any means, it's often overshadowed by other big lower body exercises like squats, deadlifts, lunges, and split squats. The step up deserves to be right alongside all of those other big lower body exercises in your trainer toolbox. There's three things that I really like about step ups. First off, I like that the movement targets the big three lower body muscle groups, the glutes, the quads, and the hamstrings. Any exercise that hits that much muscular real estate all at once is worth your time. The second thing that I like about the step up is that it's easier to regress or progress than most other movements. Your client looks unstable stepping up onto a box. Maybe try a lower step or a different variation of the movement. Maybe the movement is starting to look too easy. Raise that step height or increase the weight. I find that on average, clients feel more stable during step ups compared to other single-legged movements, and because of that, oftentimes we're able to load them up a bit more while maintaining form. The third thing that I like about the step up exercise is that it prepares you to do something that you'll actually be doing in everyday life. Think about going up a flight of stairs with some heavy objects. Yep, that's basically the step up. Whether you're helping your buddy carry a couch up the stairs or you just want to bring all the groceries into the house in one trip, the step up is one of the best movements to help get the job done. My next underrated exercise is kind of like the step up in that it isn't unknown, it's just most likely underutilized and overshadowed. Reverse fly variations are next on my list of underrated exercises. The reverse fly is on this list for two reasons. The first is that it's an easy exercise to change up on the fly. No pun intended. You have the typical dumbbell version of the movement. You also have cable variations and different band variations at your disposal as well. The other reason that I really like the reverse fly is that it's a useful movement for helping clients to prevent shoulder, neck, and back issues. Most clients are going to have some upper cross syndrome stuff going on, aka these muscles on the front side of the body are over tight, overactive, and constantly pulling forwards, resulting in a rounded, slouchy posture. One of the best things that we can do to help with this is to strengthen the opposing muscle groups on the back side of the body. Reverse fly variations like this high to low band pull apart are useful for this. The next exercise on my underrated exercise list is the Palloff press. The Palloff press is an exercise that targets a whole bunch of different areas at once. A good handful of upper body and lower body muscles are active during this movement. That said, it is primarily a core exercise when done correctly. In addition to hitting so many muscle groups at once, the Palloff press is also special because it's what is referred to as an anti-rotation exercise. Essentially, the load is trying to rotate you, and you need to use all of that musculature, primarily the core, to stabilize and resist that force. This trains people to use their core in a bit more of a functional way. Most athletic activities force the body into weird positions where you have to maintain a tight core while dealing with external forces. The Palloff press might be the best exercise to help deal with those external forces while improving performance and helping to prevent injury. The next underrated exercise exercise on this list is the push-up. Of course, everyone knows what a push-up is, and I would even say most people understand that the push-up is a good exercise. The push-up sometimes gets overshadowed by other big pressing movements, and for everyone, especially the general population, it shouldn't be. The main thing that I like about the push-up is its versatility. It's practically unmatched in that respect. Some variations include bar push-ups, kneeling push-ups, band-resisted push-ups, weight plate push-ups, decline push-ups, medicine ball push-ups, just to name a few. Almost all clients should be doing at least one variation of the exercise, and most clients should be doing multiple variations on a rotating basis. As you would expect, having all of these different variations at your disposal, well, yeah, that does help you to keep your clients' workouts varied and exciting. Not only is this good when it comes to physically challenging your client, it also helps to add in perceived value for your services. Push-up variations are also helpful when it comes to core activation, and we've already discussed how important that is. My next underrated exercise is cheating a bit since it isn't actually one exercise, rather it's a group of exercises, but extra glute strengthening is my next underrated thing that you should be doing with clients. I think most people know that if you're having low back issues, you should probably do some extra core strengthening to lessen symptoms. This is definitely true. Having a weak core will negatively affect your back, especially your low back, an often neglected area that is also way underdeveloped and contributes quite a bit to back issues as well. Well, yeah, you guessed it, it's the glutes. Most average everyday people do have way underactive glutes, and that does come from one thing in particular: sitting too much. Sitting on your glutes too much can cause something called dead butt syndrome. Yes, that really is a thing, I didn't make it up. Basically, when your glutes don't do what they're supposed to do, it causes a whole bunch of physiological things to go wrong. Essentially, underactive glutes will pretty much always cause some degree of anterior pelvic tilting. We talked about it before with the dead bugs, remember? Anyways, when this is going on, these muscles end up not feeling the best since they're chronically shortened. If we can strengthen here, then we can help reduce that. So far, I've primarily been talking about glute maximus, which is the biggest muscle in the body, by the way. Glute medius is also way too weak on people and deserves a bit of extra attention since it's an important knee stabilizer, as well as a few other things too. I like exercises like band walks, clamshells, fire hydrants, and a few other things to remedy this underactive glute medius situation. Throwing some of these things into your sessions can help to solve this imbalance, and it can help to protect your client's knees too. My next underrated exercise is the farmer's walk or farmer's carry. I like this movement because it's simple and effective. The farmer's carry is a great way to build total body strength and endurance, and it's extra useful for targeting those gripping muscles. There are several variations of the move that I like. I like the good old-fashioned double dumbbell version. I also like the hex bar version if you're trying to load things up a bit more. My favorite version is probably the single arm variation since it forces you to stabilize a bit more with the core. Whichever version you choose, the farmer's walk makes a solid addition to pretty much any workout, and that's why I included it on this list. The last underrated exercise that I'll talk about today is the rollout. Like a bunch of other exercises on my list, the rollout, when done properly, is primarily a core exercise. The rollout looks kind of gimmicky, and I also think oftentimes people are scared they're going to do it wrong, so they avoid the movement. Even though it does have that as seen on TV feel to it, it turns out the rollout is actually a good exercise. It's surprisingly effective when it comes to hitting the core, especially those deeper core layers that we discussed earlier, and it's actually not a bad upper body movement as well. I often find rollouts to be a good fit in pushing focused workouts, since in addition to fatiguing the core, they also have considerable effect on the triceps, anterior delts, and it's not bad for the lats either. To do the rollout correctly, go from this position to this position. It's almost like you're trying to have bad posture. In this position, you should be sucking your abs into your spine. Essentially, we're trying to get a bit of a posterior pelvic tilt going on. From there, keep the abs tight and go out as far as you can without this part of your back collapsing. Then you squeeze the abs tight and try to pull yourself back using your core. The ab wheel rollout is an advanced move. Many clients will be better off with a less advanced version of the movement, so keep that in mind. If you're looking for a more detailed breakdown of this movement, Jeff Cavaliere over at AthleanX did the best job that I've seen on YouTube. Now, originally I thought I would do an honorable mention part here because there are a bunch of other underrated exercises that I didn't have time to put into this video. I think a better thing to do would be to just make a part 2 video in the near future, so that's what I'll do instead. So make sure you guys stick around for that. I still have some good ideas bouncing around in my head for that part 2 video. That's all that we have for today, everyone. If you haven't done so already, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, because that does help the channel to grow and that does allow me to keep making free content for all of you. Thanks for watching, everyone, and until next time, stay sorta healthy.